Okay, we're going to get going this morning. I got news for you. In my first 2.5 years here, I call them game changers. I know I was here in May of 2015 to give you some perspective. We had 400 agents and about 40 cappers. Okay? A year and a half later, a guy named Brent Gove came to the company. And I walked into the board of directors meeting we had about 1,500 agents. And I walked in and I said, guess what? Our company changed today. They go, what do you mean? I said, Brent Gove just joined. They go, what do you mean? I said, no, you guys don't understand. Okay, a year goes by, we're at EXPCon again, and all of a sudden I'm looking in the room and I see Jay Kinder and Michael Reese and Al Stasic, and I'm going, okay, what is it? I know these guys. I mean, they are just heroes in our business. They've been training and coaching agents. So in the first 2.5 years, I told everybody at the board of directors meeting the second time, our company's just changed again. Let's give it up for Jay Kinder!
Hey, what's up? Appreciate you. Love you, man. Man, how about this place? You guys like this place? Me too. I've been here a whole year living in Puerto Rico, and I had never been here until now, and I feel like an idiot. Like, what was I doing this whole time? This is amazing. So yeah, guys, so I kind of got the lay of the land, and you guys are actually all kind of at the organization size that I've been like hyper-focused on right now with my own group. So I've got some thoughts. I've been putting in a lot of thought on what is it exactly that you guys should be doing that we've seen work really well for everyone else at your stage to get to that next level, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to share some thoughts on that in terms of not only just growing your organization, but also your FLQA status, because that's going to become a big thing for you as your group and your organization starts to grow. You don't want to be leaving money on the table. So you got to be doing two things at one time. I'll start with sharing one of the best success stories that I have. A guy that he called me. He's been with us now 3 years. His name's Dan Hilsman. Does anybody know Dan or met Dan Hilsman? Okay. That was perfect. That's my point of sharing the story. Dan was a regular producing guy. Been in the business like 20-something years. Real down to earth. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. And when he called me, he was looking to change brokerages. He was doing some research. He found a video online that I had done. It was an interview of some kind. And he reached out to me. That's another little tip we'll talk about later, is doing videos and interviews. But he reached out to me out of the blue, and we did 2 or 3 calls. He asked me a million questions, pretty much answered everything I think he was, that he was thinking of. And he told me when he was going to come on board, he said, Jay, I think you guys could definitely help me sell some more houses. Looks like I'm going to save money on my split was by coming over to EXP. I'm going to get some technology that I was having to pay for before. All that's great. He's like, but this revenue share thing, I'm not real sure about it. It sounds great, and I hope it works out, but that's not why I'm joining, right? And so after that, he's a good student, and he followed the directions. And I'm glad that I gave him the directions, because I could have just wrote it off as he's not going to probably do anything. And the truth was, he followed the system better than probably anybody that's joined in my organization, period. He's the only person that has sent me his wealth chart. How many of you have a wealth chart? Have it printed out in front of you where it can't get away from you every day? Huge deal. But he's the only person that has sent me his wealth chart every single month at the beginning of the month, every single month since he's joined the organization. He's the only one in my entire group, out of now sitting at almost 8,000 agents in my entire organization. He's the only one person that has sent it to me every single month. And so he's been following the process. And so when he left his broker, he said, man, I don't know if this guy would be interested or not. What should I say to him? So I told him to follow the script. I gave him the script to follow. He basically said, hey, listen, I'm thinking of joining this other brokerage. And before I do it, I just wanted you to take a look at the business model and tell me if I'm missing something. This just looks like a great opportunity. Ends up, the next day he said, I told him exactly what you told me to do. He tracked it. You can track whether somebody watches the video. There's a couple different tools, CRM, Grow, and we had built one called Expert Mentors. But you can track whether someone watches the video. It's important. If you want to share this opportunity with someone and you're going to follow up, you have to know if they looked at it or not. Otherwise, you don't even know if you should follow up or not, right? Right or wrong. Right? It's a huge deal when you know that they've watched the video, especially they watch the whole thing. And then sometimes they watch it more than once, right? Or they start sharing it with other people. You've got somebody that's going to be joining. It's a good sign. And so the guy watches the video, and the broker tells him the next day, he said, I think I'm coming with you. so he literally, the first person he brought on was the broker of the office that he was at. It was a hired broker for that company. And he came over. When he left, he said, well, what do I tell these people that are asking me why I left? And this is what generally happens, right? We've all kind of gone through this in some level or another. But he just followed the process to the T. He invited them to take a look at the opportunity. They looked at the opportunity. He put those people on a three-way call with me. I helped answer all their questions. We didn't get them all, but we got some of them, all right? And so he got off to a really good start because I didn't allow him to just get lost in the clutter of joining the XP and going back to selling more houses like a lot of people do, right? That's a really big point to remember. That first week you have with them, really the week before they join and the week after they join, that's your opportunity to get them off to the right start. If you get them off to the right start, they're gonna start, they get a little bit of momentum, a little bit of wind in their sails. This is not an easy thing to do, guys. If you go back and look at how many people I've personally recruited to EXP since I've been here, it's an average of less than 3 people a month. I would be fired if I was a recruiter. I've not recruited that many people. It feels really slow, right? 1 or 2 or 3 people a month is a really good number. I don't know a whole lot of people that do a lot more than that. There's a few people now that do, but they have big YouTube channels or whatever the case may be. But it's not going to be a bunch of big numbers. So you have to make sure that when you bring someone on board, you bring them on board and get wind in their sails. Don't let them get stuck in just going back into selling. Make sure they make the list. Now, there's training. Brent Gove's training is all great and fantastic, and I'm sure there's several things that they tell you to do. You should go through all of that twice, maybe 3 times, and then go through agentattractiontraining.com. That's the resources that we use. And it's just, again, it's beating down on the process. And that's the thing we tell everybody to go through. Go through agentattractiontraining.com. Go through that training. It's just to get you started and get your people to make sure that they share that with you. So getting people started is a really big deal. So I did that with Dan Hilsman. And me and Dan were talking the other day. Dan's organization is now at 800, and it's growing pretty fast. It's pacing to double. You'll notice that as you get your organization up around 500 to 1,000, that its pace is going to be growing generally. I would say you're going to see a doubling of every 12 months. That's about, when you get to that size, you're going to have momentum, and it's going to start growing at a little bit faster pace than the company's growth rate is what I have seen in most of the organizations. So Dan is at 800, and I was on a call with him the other day, and I said, Dan, tell me exactly what you did, and kind of where we were at. And actually, I was talking, I think I was doing a Facebook Live, and he was in the chat. And so I went back and looked at my calendar invites, and I had done 150 three-way calls with Dan Hilsman. And so, And so now the interesting thing was probably 50 of those were just with Dan, and then 100 of them were with Dan and one of his leaders, right? So Dan was getting he's got 3 people that have more than 500 in their organizations in his group as well, right? So he's got 3 leaders within his organization that are building, more than that really. He's probably got 5 builders really, maybe even more than that. Honestly, he's got more than that because they just go deeper and deeper and deeper, and some of them I can't even see. But he's got probably 5 to 7 really good builders and 2 or 3 of them that are up close in his top front line, so it's really building out really fast for him. And so he followed the process, and this is what duplication is, guys. When we talk about duplication, Dan just said, he just went and said what I told him to say, and then he told his people, hey man, this is all I did, just do this. And then they did the same thing. And he made sure that they did the same. This is where I think things get lost, is sometimes, like, I wasn't reaching out. Now today, what I would tell you is I should have been making sure they were following the system. I should have helped him identify those leaders, and I should have been making sure they were following that process as well, and not lost them and identified those potential people that could have been builders, because you'll know who they are. They're interested. They'll go through the training. They do a couple calls with you. You kind of start to identify, hey, this person's focused on it. You need to adopt those people if they're leader. If you don't have a leader that is really working with them, I've got a couple of examples where I've got people they've got a decent sized group, or they've got some good people underneath them, but they're not really focused on agent attraction, so they're not really leading them from the agent attraction side for whatever reason. They're heavy in production, or they're just not, whatever it may be. And you will soon, not yet, but at some point you will be responsible for helping those people grow as well. You want to focus on find the people that are swimming to the boat first, right? And then start to identify the people that have the potential if you just kept them engaged and kept in communication with them. So I wrote a few things down. So that was what I was going to say about Dan. So the top 3 things to continue growing your FLA and your front line. So my first thing is Facebook Live interviews. Anyone that joins your organization and or any other leader in the company, it doesn't really matter. You should just be doing Facebook Live interviews. I use a tool called StreamYard for that. StreamYard is pretty inexpensive, and it also loads everything into LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube all at one time. So that is the one thing. If there was looking back, like the one thing that I did right was every single person that came in, that was part of the launch process, right? So a Facebook Live interview, it's not, I don't make it mandatory, but I highly recommend everybody that joins do a Facebook Live interview and let's tell your story. Because it does get old, man. I mean, everybody's story is a little bit different, but at the same time, everybody's joining for a handful of about 5 reasons that they join EXP. And so, but those stories are important because it gets it out there in front of their audience of people, and then it makes you kind of the resource of the person to watch, right? So you don't realize it, but on Facebook Live, you have an audience of people that know, like, and trust you, and they're watching your success or your failure. And if you're not sharing these success stories and these interviews of people and why they're coming aboard, then they're not seeing you enough, right? And the more you do that, and the more you put it out there, especially if you put it out there and you use keyword, if you do a good job with keywords on YouTube, how many of you have seen a video that I've done in the past, right? So like that's not anything. I didn't do a really, really good job of keyword stuffing or anything, but I just did a whole lot of interviews, probably hundreds of interviews at this point. And so I don't do enough of them. I should go back and be doing more of them. So like that's one thing you should be doing, because that is an inbound attraction method, right? Dan Hillsman reached out to me. I'll never forget. I was in my gym in my shop. I was trying to get a workout in while I was having like my 3rd call with this guy. I'm like, this dude gonna come over or not? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I was doing a workout while I was doing a 3-way call with him, and that's just part of the process. Okay, so StreamYard. So yeah, it's attract, not chase. So if you want to attract, not chase, and this is another kind of thing that's important. We teach and coach and train and do all the things about production, right? Done that for years. And so we can lead with that stuff, but I'm telling you, there are people out there that the lowest hanging fruit are people that are watching your videos that are about EXP and about agent attraction and about the things that we're doing, right? If somebody's watching that video and they reach out to you, they're way closer to joining than somebody that you help say they want to go from 25 transactions to 100 transactions. You meet them, you help them, you do a class or you teach or whatever, and then you get to the end of that, and at some point you introduce them to the model of EXP. Like, that's a really hard and long process to get someone to come join EXP. The shortcut to that is hit them where they're at, right? That content that's out there on YouTube, if anybody's watching that, they're thinking about joining EXP for some reason, whatever reason it may be. That's the lower hanging fruit. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about creating content. It's not, we don't want to go talk about the EXP to everybody, but for people that are searching and watching content, that is a good strategy. So definitely Facebook Live interviews. The second thing I have is consistently adding people to your wealth chart and your work and the list that you're working. So either you're using the wealth chart, and it's funny because I feel like I've got a lot of examples of folks that are at maybe the stage of 50 to 75 in their organization, and they still haven't called even close to half the people that they know, and that should be on that list, right? Like, did you really do a good job of making the list, and did you put everybody you can think of on there? And if you didn't, go back and do that, and then make sure you're always adding to the list, adding people, connections, through networking, whatever it is you're doing to bump into agents. Make sure you're adding people to that list consistently. That's the second thing you should be doing for adding people to your front line. And the third one is a system for creating new relationships. So I think a lot of people, I think most of the people I would say don't do a good job. And we would all say, especially even the bigger organizations, we would all say we would go back and we would do a better job of making our list, and we'd do a better job of connecting with those people, and maybe doing it more consistently, and with the right approach is another thing. We maybe approach them, but we didn't approach them in the right way. And say, go back, that's probably one of the biggest mistakes most every one of us make. So it is a big deal, but you need to create some type of system for creating new relationships in this business, right? So whatever that may be, a couple of different ideas. Obviously you go to networking events, showings, things of that nature. Find something you're good at and teach it. And then, I heard this was a takeaway from yesterday. You guys had some really good takeaways from yesterday, so I know the content was fire yesterday. That's good. But one of the one of the things that you should be considering doing at this stage for sure is you should be investing back in this business, right? This is it's nice to have this income rolling in, but like you want to put fuel on this fire and grow this thing. And so whatever that means, if it means you need to be running, if you're building a system to teach agents something and you're building an audience of agents through teaching something that you're really good at in this business, then you should be putting money into that and put something behind it, because it's gonna bear fruit as you start to recruit people from it. And so speed things along, be willing to invest back in the business. Okay, so the top 3 things you should be doing to grow your organization. Teaching the system. I feel like we say it a lot, but I feel like we still don't say it enough. And it is a pretty simple process. It's invitation. And so, I get, on average, probably not quite as much lately, but it probably averaged 10 or 15 calls a day for the last 4 years. So I've gotten to have a lot of throughway calls and a lot of calls of frustration from agents that are trying to get things going. And I say the same thing every single day, over and over, to a number of agents all the time. And it's follow the system, 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 follow the system. And when they tell me their problems and their struggles, it'll often start off with, well, when I start talking about this, or I say this, and I'm saying, you're talking about EXP. Every time they'll tell me something, and they're talking to this person about EXP, and the more that they do that, the less the odds are that they're going to ever get them to really look at the opportunity. The truth is that partnering with all of us is way bigger than just the EXP business model, but it's very confusing. There's a lot that goes with this business model. I don't even feel like, if you put me on a call with someone who hasn't seen the model and doesn't understand the model, it's a really heavy lift for even me to get them there. I have to ask a lot of questions. I do the needs analysis. Gene does it better than anybody, but and actually Gene and Dave could do it better than anybody. I follow both of what they say in that needs analysis process. Then I have to find their hurts and their wounds and their pains, and then I have to show them that we can help them, how we're going to align that to help them through this business model and our partnership together. That's a really heavy lift. They need to consume a certain amount of information. So the people that are the best at getting them excited and getting them to watch a video or watch a live presentation or come to a lunch and learn or come to a live event like this, that is where the money is made. That is the skill set that any one of us can learn. And it's important, because even if you're really good and you can talk EXP and you can talk the lingo, the problem is that they probably can't. And so how did they come on board? They were sold EXP the way you sold it to them, and then they don't really know the process for how to bring others into EXP. And so where the real duplication happens, in my example with Dan Hilsman, is if Dan had done it the wrong way, then getting those people to do it the right way would have been really hard, because who was going to be the leader that's going to be on the phone with them? Dan got off the phone. I haven't been on a call with Dan Hilsman in a long time. He doesn't need me. He does his calls for his team, and then he's taught his leaders to do those calls for their teams, and that's duplication. And then at some point it gets off of your plate, and you get some of your life back. You can play a little golf every once in a while. So if you follow the leaders around here, you see they play a little bit of golf, don't they? And so this can also consume you. But if you teach the duplicatable process, it eventually comes off of your plate, because you're creating leaders who are creating leaders who are creating leaders. Right? Second thing. Obviously, you guys are here for this. This is as big a thing as anything. Getting to live events. Man, I got story after story I could go with this. In fact, Dan Hilsman, I'll use an extension of that story. We did a mastermind in Key West, and Brent and Gene were nice enough to come speak at that. And it was a great event. And Dan had brought 3 people that. He had brought them to one other event prior to that. One was another event that we did that was in Dallas. And he made that investment and getting them to make that investment to get there. And this one was in Key West. It was a little bit more expensive. And so Levi, one of the guys that showed up, really almost didn't come. Like, just was on the fence, really couldn't afford it, to be honest, quite honest. He really couldn't afford to go. Shows up, and he goes back and he calls a guy that he never would have called otherwise. Partly because one of the takeaways I heard over here was, call that person in your marketplace that you're afraid to call. He went back and did that. And that person joined EXP, and it took off and exploded for him. And that's part of the reason why Dan's is taking off the way it is. But those types of stories happen all the time. The heavy lifting is done at these events. You can't bump into anybody here. I remember Vincent Koo was a guy that he's probably got 600 or 700 in his org right now. And he was kind of questioning it, and another guy was questioning it, and they were sitting next to Rob Flick at an event that Brent put on in Las Vegas. And it was a great little small event, but he was standing next to, of all people, he was standing next to Rob Flick. He said, tell me what do you think about this revenue share thing, right? And so, like, of all people, it's a good person to be standing next to. You just don't know who people are going to bump into. Now, after that conversation, he ended up going back, joining, and Vincent Koo left his exit franchise, 3 franchises that he had, and joined EXP. And that probably wouldn't have happened had they not been at that event. They probably would have stayed where they were at and not made the move and pulled the trigger, right? So, like, these events are huge. If you're spending your time getting your key people to these events, they go back and they do things they wouldn't have otherwise done. That's where the fire has to consistently be relit over and over and over and over again. And it happens. Go ahead. Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, for the right person, it's worth it buying their ticket. Say, listen, man, if I could get you a ticket, would you come? All you got to do is get here. They got to put a little skin in the game, and you got, there's certain people that you want to invest in, and it's a good investment, and there's certain people that, they won't put their money into anything themselves. I want to believe in everybody, but I want to see them have a little skin in the game, and be willing to make that investment themselves. But if you bought the ticket, that's the best investment you could get if they come to the event. And that's something we should. And every leader I know in this company has done that and done it at a high level and made those investments at some point, even when it wasn't comfortable to make those investments. So that's just part of it. The last thing I had on here for growing your organization is build community. There's a lot of ways to do this, and one of the most interesting, I think maybe one of the better ways that I've seen it done is creating a messenger list on Facebook. So, we can do group chats. You could create a Facebook group, and you probably should. Workplace you could use as well, obviously. There's text threads and things of that nature that you should have with your key people that you're always inviting them to. Like, today, that, whatever I don't know if it's on y'all's table or not, but it's sitting back there, and it has all the events for this year, right? I was like, man, we didn't make anything that cool. That's awesome. That's every event that everybody needs to get to. So I take a picture, I posted it in our group, and shared it with the group, and I texted it to a few of our leaders that I know that need to be there, and that will cascade that information down to everybody else, right? So people are always wondering what the dates are, but they should be locking in those dates at as soon as possible in the year. Let's get you to commit to what events you're going to be coming to this year. And make sure that they, don't let time pass, because, the tickets are hard to get sometimes and everything else. But you want to make sure that your key people are doing that and cascading that information down. So text threads and like that Facebook Messenger group, Nick Good did a really good job of this. It worked out really good because you don't know when someone's lost. Maybe they're 2 or 3 deeper in your organization or whatever, and you're not personally talking to them all the time. And maybe they're kind of orphaned out there, and they're not really, they're not having a good experience or whatever, or they need some help with something. The group serves as a backboard for you that's not you as the backboard, okay? So if someone else will answer that question. For people that have a local group that's kind of growing, which Nick Good had a pretty good sized local group in Dallas. It served as a little bit of support for back and forth for when they need someone or open house or whatever. So it's just another way to get people engaged. And Nick did a great job of always, every time there was a call, every time there was an event, every time there was something going on, when they started putting together local stuff that they were doing, they were leveraging that Facebook Messenger group. So at this size, that makes it's manageable, right? So like, you get up above 1,000 people, that might not work forever. But I think early on, building community around your group and making sure they're engaged and they know what's going on, and you're leading from the front and messaging them about this event, who's committed, who's in, having some type of a weekly call where you're inviting folks on to talk about agent attraction. This is, it's one of those things that, there's some folks have this philosophy of, man, focus on teaching production, the rest will come or whatever. And I'm just not really all about that. I want to talk about agent attraction because I'm looking for the people that are looking for this opportunity. And so I'm going to always show the opportunity side of this business to everybody. I'll show anybody how to sell more houses. I'm fine with that, and I'm going to do that for you anyway. But I want to know who's interested in creating a passive income and changing their entire life, because those people are my people, right? And so you want to make sure, don't skim over the opportunity side of it. It's the most exciting and the biggest opportunity any of us have ever seen in our lifetimes. Anybody that I know that's at this level or higher or below, it's nothing I've ever seen like it. And so it's worth, you owe it to every person that you engage with to make sure that they fully see the opportunity, especially if you know that they would be great at it, right? If that's something that they would be really good at. So anyways, those are the things that I've got for you guys. And I guess we can do some Q&A if we got time. I don't know how much time we got. Does that work? All right, shoot, let's do it. Anybody who wanted to do one. I didn't restrict it to anything. It was anybody who wanted to do one, I would do one. And if they had their own setup, I would use their setup. But because I think they need to have their own setup at a certain point, but most people didn't have that, so I would do it from my own account. So my audience was just getting, bigger and bigger and bigger, and people were seeing it more and more and more. Yep. Go ahead. We got Dave
Jay.
back there with use the mic. All right.
You guys have done a really good job building community, like Honey Badger Nation, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
There's pride in being in that group, right? I mean,
Right.
people are talking about it and bragging about it and everything else. So what are the key things you did to build that sense of belonging and pride of where people are out there pumped about it and other people want to get in because it seems like this powerful
Yeah,
group?
so it's a sad answer, but it kind of happened by accident. So the Honey Badger thing was, we used to give this award in our coaching organization when we do these events, and the Honey Badger was our spirit animal, and we had this award that was really an intangible. You couldn't really say you're going to win it. If you were going to win the production, you knew you had the most production. Everybody kind of knew who was going to win, by the time we were doing this event. But this one was one that was for the person who just kind of gone through some stuff, and had the hardest time and still came out on top. They were Honey Badger. And so it was a coveted award. And so we actually named our Facebook. So when I joined, there wasn't a workplace. So workplace didn't exist. What a great tool that is. But we used Facebook for our group. So we created it. We didn't know what to name it. So we called it Honey Badger Nation, powered by EXP. And so that became kind of the moniker for it. But I'll tell you why it really has been. What we did initially was we started doing we did coaching interviews with the top people in our organization. So we've got, John Kitchens has done whatever, how many ever weeks that we've had it, he ain't missed one. The dude doesn't miss. He's Mr. Consistent. So and he's a great interviewer. So we've got these interviews that are banked with every top person in our organization from a production standpoint. And some of it, blends over into agent attraction a little bit too, but some really great content. So we've got a lot of interviews and a lot of top great people, and we've identified them. The other thing we did was, we created a leaderboard pretty early on, and that was so smart. So, we have our top, it started out as our top 40 to 40, and then it evolved to now it's our top 200, and that's all agent attraction focused. So that's agent attraction focused. So that created a leaderboard, and people, man, when I post that thing, there's a million comments. That's the one thing when they can't wait every month to get that one. You know what I'm saying? They want to see that leaderboard, and they want to see that they're on that leaderboard. And so that was another piece that really got people engaged and involved. And then I would say from that point on, the power of the group is what made it so special, right? Like, it's nothing that we've done. It's really just the quality of people that are in the group that are always giving back, and usually the ones answering questions and doing things of that nature. So just the caliber of those folks and the engagement within the group really made people feel special when people would, and it's gotten so big now, it's kind of lost some of its luster. So we kind of had to create another leadership kind of level for the higher end people. But it's over 10,000 people in the group now. But it's very active, and that group was really what I think made it happen for us, for sure. Yep.
Hi. I've got a question for you. So I followed you and Michael Reese for a while. I'm very impressed with your organization.
Thank you.
I want to kind of have you delve into what is your value add, because I've attended a webinar that talks about sales funnels, and if you join us, you get the sales funnels.
Right.
And if you could delve into how
Yep.
you are attracting agents that way, that would be great.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. So, so we did have the benefit of having a company that did coaching and training, and we have tons of resources and things that we've done for years and years and years. So the way that we do it is it is a partner opportunity. It's not just an EXP pitch, which is a lot easier to invite to. It's a partnership, and where they get in that partnership. Mike does it a little bit different. He has a little, Mike's a machine. The dude is just something else, but he's got a little bit more sales funnel driven kind of a business model that he uses to recruit to, and we share those sales funnels with anybody who joins, and so they get access to a lot of our training, our the basic NAEA training and stuff like that. But that's not really as much of the carrot as the partnership. I think what people are buying into is that we can help them. And that's, that like, it's not the individual, like you could list a million things on a page of what you're going to get access to. That's not why they join. They join because they believe that you're going to help them go from A to B. And that's what we're selling. And we're selling that through the model. The reason we're able to do this is, we don't charge you. We're not going to ask you for a credit card is because of this business model. And that's why the partnership is you got to join EXP. But I don't think there's any one thing that we're offering. I think if you were to say, there's probably some good headlines around lead generation and things like that that are going to get someone to watch a webinar, right? It might be a good hook, but that's never going to be the reason they join. They end up getting on a call. They talk to us about their business. They want to go from here to here, and we show them how we're going to help them do that by, hey, we can help you. We can help you do that. We'll show you how we're going to help you do that. We're going to coach. We just coach them. We help them. I think what the gift is. It's the needs analysis, really, is what it is. It's understanding where their biggest rock is in their shoe, and helping them get clear on what that rock in their shoe is, and then helping them with whatever that problem is. So for me now, for every person that joins, my son Braden, he builds the funnels for them. So I could just as easily use Make It Rain for this. And I could sell it the same way I would sell it to anybody and say, listen, we're going to help you with your lead generation. We're going to show you there's 2 or 3 ways you can do it. If you want to focus on listings, you want to focus on buyers, and you can go right to Make It Rain and leverage that platform for doing the same thing. They'll do it for you. I think it's nice that we can go in and kind of customize a funnel and build it for someone, but that doesn't have it's all in the way you present it.
What I like what you said. Hello. What he said, though, you can attract somebody for production, right, is what he's saying. But quite honestly, what's he said about 5 times? He's trying to, does anybody know how many millions of dollars we gave last year in rev share? No, not 400 million. I love you, though.
This year?
Last year, on our financials, $170 million. Now, when we reported that, just a little 170 million. It will double this year. It will double this year. I'm so glad you said that, Jay, because it's so good. Sometimes you guys get off track. If I can teach them how to sell more homes or whatever.
Right.
But quite honestly, there's going to be $300 million next year of an opportunity of the owner's money that Glenn said, I'd love to be your partner. We're all his partner.
Yep.
We're all partnered together with Jay.
Yep.
And the more we sell. So I think sometimes we get off track.
Yeah.
But if we just sell what we've got,
Right.
we're going to blow right by the profit share of last year for KW. I don't know how I got the number. Where is she? Was 190 million. Okay, profit share. They've only been doing it 40 years. 190 million. We're going to blow by that, right?
We're going to be here for a while too. That's the thing. You look at that list. I knew some of those names 20 years ago, and I don't know where they retired to, what island they retired to, but they've been around a long time, and we're going to be around a lot longer. And so it's exciting what we're building here. Yep. Good.
Give Jay a hand, everybody.